Coming up in this episode of Unholy Vibes.
It just steps from the darkness into the edge of the light, and she clearly sees the outline of a person standing there. And she decided that she was going to just hit whatever this was.
Welcome to Unholy Vibes, a journey through the realms of true horror. Please note, while this is not a religious podcast, the narratives shared by our guest often intertwine with their personal faiths and beliefs. Our aim is to respectfully present these stories in their authentic form, which sometimes includes religious elements essential for context and understanding. We embrace guests from diverse spiritual backgrounds, recognizing that these beliefs can significantly shape their experiences. Thank you for joining us, and let's delve into the unexplained with an open mind and respect for all perspectives. Welcome to the Unholy Vibes podcast. My name is Alex, your host, and today we have another special guest, my pal Jared. Jared, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, so I'm Jared. I live in Arizona. Me and Alex have been friends for about a decade, and we've been homies for a while. And he was visiting one time and asked if I had any spooky stories. And so I told him a spooky story that I had when I was about 14 years old. And now here we are.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you may have actually told it to me first while we were playing games, like online.
I think that's accurate. I probably did tell you that. I think there's a couple of stories that I've told you, and so it's hard to remember which is which and when I said them.
But these kind of stories, they stick with me. Whenever anyone tells me a story like this that I find a little intriguing or gives me a little bit of the chills, a little spookies, a little goosies, it sticks with me. And so I remember it, and now that I've started Unholy Vibes, it's like I got to get in touch with everyone and say, hey, I need you on the show. Tell your story. And we'll see if people enjoy it as much as I do. So without further ado, give us the background, give us some surrounding information, and then go ahead and dive in, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So this happened when I was about 14 years old. My family had just moved to Ohio. My dad got a job out there working for a company that made basically training rounds for tanks. And so the company where he worked at, they had an engineering shop area where you had a bunch of cubicles with engineers sitting, and then you had a warehouse that had like manufacturing stuff and production and different things like that. And so my family, we had just moved to Ohio, moved across the country, and so that kind of led us to where we are in the background. So the story starts really with my dad. And so my dad, he hated going to work there because he just always felt like something was not quite right. He'd go to work and he'd sit there and he just always felt uncomfortable. And he was talking to one of the security guys there about it. And the guy said, oh, well, that might be because our building is haunted. My dad's like, what? What do you mean? He's like, oh, yeah, it's haunted. We have ghosts that roam around this building and different things like that. And we actually have security and audio recordings of one of the hauntings that happened. And so my dad brought me, my older brother, and my mom with him when we went to go and look at the security recordings. So we go in and there's two recordings. There's a video recording and then there's a separate audio recording. But if you overlay the time stamps on them, both of the events happen at the same time. And so the video recording is of the cubicles overlooking the desks where all the engineers sit. And it's at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's pitch black, and the video camera's just looking out over the cubicles, and then all of a sudden there's just a bright flash of light, and then it's gone. But if you paused the video during that bright flash of light, there was this figure of a little girl, probably around 10, 11 years old, was all white. She had a white dress on, but you couldn't really see her arms or legs. Her arms or legs just blended into this kind of white mist, and it kind of looked like the wind was blowing. And she had blonde hair, and the blonde hair was kind of blowing across her face too. And she's just floating above the cubicles, looking directly at the camera. And then when you listen to the audio recording at that same time, you hear this kind of metallic, shaky voice, a little girl's voice that says, I'm watching you. It was like, I'm watching you. Like, that's what it sounded like. And so it was at the same time And then that was pretty much it. And they had other recordings too of orbs floating around or things moving, but it was nothing else was nearly of the scale of this one video. But I remember just watching it, and when I heard that voice, just the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And I remember just getting the creepy feeling, just knowing, oh, this is not normal. This is not natural.
Unholy vibes, if you will.
Unholy vibes, absolutely. But it doesn't stop there. So my dad keeps going to work, and he just can't shake this feeling that something is wrong. And so my family were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and so my dad has the priesthood. And so he and another member of our congregation who also has the priesthood decided to go to his office late one night and cast out the evil spirits, basically, so that way they could have some peace and kind of get rid of that sickening feeling there. And so the night that they go to do this, my mom has to go and pick up my brother from driving school because he was getting his license at the time. And where we lived in Ohio, we lived in the middle of nowhere, just out in this tiny little subdivision that was in a town that wasn't even a town. It was small enough to be considered a village. It hadn't even achieved township yet. It was tiny. And she had to drive about 45 minutes to the city to get my brother from driving school. And of course, it's late at night, it's dark, and driving out to get to the town or get to the city, it's just one lane road each way, no street lights, nothing. Mm-hmm. And there's one stoplight about halfway through. So my dad and his friend go to his work, and my mom goes to pick up my brother. And as my mom's driving, she just gets this impending sense of dread. She just feels terrified and just feels this kind of darkness coming over her, and all she thinks to do is to sing children's hymns. So as she's driving, she's singing children's hymns, just trying to shake this feeling. And she knows that something is terribly wrong. And as she's driving, she gets to that one intersection on the road, and they have a street light there. They've got stoplights, and her light is green, but then there's the one street light over that kind of was casting a circle of light on the ground. And as she's coming up to that intersection, she gets pretty close to it. She's going full speed, the speed limit there. And at the edge of the circle of light, this shadow figure appears. It just steps from the darkness into the edge of the light, and she clearly sees the outline of a person standing there. But at this point, she had two options. She couldn't slam on the brakes and stop. She either would have had to swerve to avoid hitting this person, or just plow right into him. And she decided that she was going to just hit whatever this was. Because she was like, she knew that it wasn't
an
person.
Actual physical
She
person.
knew that it was something. So she just keeps going on the gas. And as she comes up to it, it just vanishes right as she passes through it. She just vanishes as she hits it, basically. Doesn't do anything because it's just gone. And so she goes, she picks up my brother, and she's just shaking. She gets my brother. She turns around. They drive home. The whole time they're singing children's hymns to lighten the mood and get some light in there and just kind of stop their shaky feelings. And she knew after that fact that whatever evil spirit or whatever was trying to stop her, basically trying to make her crash the car so that way she would call my dad and then he would stop casting out the evil spirits.
That's the running theory?
That's the running theory.
Okay.
And that's what my mom said she felt. Anyways, my dad goes, they cast out the evil spirits. He goes back to work. Things are good for a while. He doesn't have that terrible feeling, but after a couple months, it started to come back. And he knew that basically the evil spirits had returned to that location. And so kind of what we figured is even though they cast out the evil spirits, there was someone working there who kept bringing them back. And he doesn't know who or what was going on. He doesn't know why those spirits were there in the first place, but he just knows that there was someone there that kept inviting the spirits to come in, and whatever they were doing, we don't really know. But then the spirits came back, and luckily that company ended up laying off my dad because they had budget cuts. And so he didn't have to go to work there anymore. And he was really glad, even though it was really stressful to be laid off and not, have 5 kids just move across the country and know nobody where you're at and have to basically start life over because he got laid off. He was glad to not have to go back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can still to this day remember that voice and see that face on those recordings. And every time I think about it or talk about it, I can just feel the unholy vibe.
I have a few questions. You guys think that it was someone maybe bringing something was following someone into work maybe? No idea if it was intentional or if this person just had something going on and had some bad energy following them. Could have been anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why would it then sit at the office and be that, what do you think it was about that place? Because maybe it wasn't someone, maybe it was just the place. It could have been a variety of things. And this is where again, what state?
Ohio.
You were in Ohio? Anything can happen. Yeah,
Ohio's a weird place.
So
it's a weird place.
And yeah, I just get really curious about that and the different aspects of it, because if it wasn't a person that was having some bad energy follow them around, then maybe it was just the place. Maybe it was a burial ground. Who knows?
Well,
there's a bajillion options.
That's
right?
A really good thought. I hadn't really thought about why it was there to begin with. But I mean, Ohio, it's, old farm country. Ohio's been around for forever. And you would be driving around Ohio and there'd just be tombstones on the sides of the roads. Like people would start like a little family gravesite that then eventually the city built up around it. And they're not going to move the bodies or those things. So I remember
from the 1700s or whatever.
So yeah, you drive to Walmart and then across the street from the Walmart, there'd just be like 5 headstones, just like on the side of the road. And it'd be like connected to somebody's farm. But so yeah, it's possible that, maybe something happened to someone at some point in time at that location. And then their spirit kind of lingers there. It could have been my family's theories that someone was inviting it into their lives, inviting it to follow them around with whatever that would be.
Playing with the Ouija board casually, at night. That's how they wound down at night after a long day of working at the
machine shop.
At the munitions, factory or whatever.
Yeah, let's go and talk to evil spirits, see what's going on. Yeah, no, yeah, so we don't, who knows exactly what it is. That's my family's theory, but yeah, it could have been something tied to the area too, because like I said, Ohio's been around for hundreds of years and there's lots of weird stuff that's gone on out there.
Ohio, the state, but the land itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what makes you guys automatically think that it was like an evil spirit or malicious? Was there anything else that would indicate that, or was just the sense of dread that people got?
This sense of dread mostly. As far as I know, the spirits that were there never physically harmed anyone or even any objects. It's not like they were breaking windows or destroying property or anything like that.
Moving chairs around.
Yeah, I think they did have some moving objects, but it was never anything like malicious as far as objects goes. But for us and my family, me, my mom, my dad, and my brother who all saw that, when we saw that video and audio recording, we just felt that dread, that kind of sickening feeling that this wasn't right. And like even, they say, well, it's a little girl. So evil spirits can take whatever shape they want, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just that feeling of this isn't good.
Yeah, something's off about
Something's
this.
off. Just that sixth sense that you get. And then especially when for us, the malicious side was when my dad and his friend went to cast out the evil spirit. And then another spirit on the other side, 40 miles away, was trying to stop my mom, or basically get my mom to crash her car to stop my dad from going and doing that. That kind of made us feel like it was definitely malicious. Whatever was there was malicious because they were trying to prevent the casting out.
It was a little bit of a coordinated attack.
Yeah.
What it sounds like, dude.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrifying, and I really like this story because it's so cinematic in my mind. I can imagine just a dark, long road, your mom driving along, and all of a sudden there's this shadow figure at the one light in 40 miles. It gives me the chills a little bit. It is a good one, and I think we should reach back out to that company and see if they still have the footage archived somewhere.
Yeah, I tried to Google to see if they still existed, and I can't find them. I look in, it's Dublin, Ohio. I can't even remember the name of the company. I'd have to ask my dad, but I was looking up weapons manufacturer, defense contractors in Dublin, Ohio, and there's none of the names were what I remember. So yeah, I don't know, but if we could find it, you could get that. That would be pretty wild to have.
How about this? Reach out to your dad, see what the company name was, and just check,
Yeah.
I'll call him, whatever.
I can check, yeah.
Because, and I'll follow up with you on that. And if you, dude, because here's the thing. Imagine if you were able to get that footage, that'd be amazing. It'd be terrifying.
Terrifying. Yeah.
It'd be like, we might start something bad. It'd be like The Ring, you know? You watch the ghost girl in The Office, you're going to have some shadow figures follow you around for a little bit. Don't worry about it. Just run them over if they're in the road.
Yeah, just flatten them. Yeah,
no big deal. Because, yeah, that'd be awesome. And everyone I've talked to that's come on the show, I really want to do some follow-up because there's still connections with a lot of that. Yours is probably the most difficult of a connection to kind of rekindle or like reconnect. But it might be worth trying. You never know.
Yeah, I'll reach out to my dad and ask the name of the company and just to see.
Or even if he knew the guy that was the one who showed you the footage.
Yeah, there was one of the security, like I think head of security there was the guy who showed us the videos.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If you're working at a company in the middle of Ohio and you have this crazy thing happen at your work, that's like the thing that you tell everyone now. That you don't just delete that footage.
No, yeah, they had saved it for forever. It's like they had showed it to the security guy there. It was like, yeah, this is our ghost. Come see our ghost. When my dad first started working there, kind of a thing. Like after a little while, it was we've got ghosts. He was casual. Like he's like, yeah, everybody knows that works here about the ghosts that live here, and like so, yeah. And they kept the security footage, and so it was often they're like, yeah, this is our thing.
And this was, what, 15 years ago now?
Oh, easily, yeah. Probably about 15, yeah.
So you never know, though. It could be on an old VHS tape. I'll buy a VHS player if I have to, you know what I mean? And you know, I find it interesting because I've talked with other people that are like, oh yeah, I worked at this place, and they just had the resident ghost. What do you think about that kind of behavior and attitude towards it where someone's like, yeah, we just have the ghost, don't you know? It's almost like a novelty to them. Like, but then you get people that go in and get so bothered by it and get such bad vibes. What do you think about that from both sides?
Yeah, so from both sides, I mean, do I think that spirits can be here that are not necessarily evil or bad? Sure. I mean, I'm religious. You know, I'm religious, and so I believe in angels. I believe in evil spirits and the devil, and so I feel like there's a combination of both here on Earth. And so there could be some that just hang out, and people, sure, they might not be bothered by it. Me personally, I would always be bothered by it. I don't care if it's not evil. I still don't want to hear knocking on my door at 3:00 in the morning, even if it's just something more quote unquote playful. I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want to wake up to weird noises in the night. I don't like it when my house settles because I'm like, oh, who the heck is in my freaking house?
My door creaked a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that. So for me personally, do I say they could exist? I personally think more often than not, when people have encounters with spirits that are not what some would consider spiritual experiences, I would consider them to be more malicious in intent.
Mm-hmm.
But who's to say that there's not just some wandering ghosts that just passing along, hanging out still, like
someone who's died and doesn't know they're dead, or whatever,
something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
People that have the ghost as a novelty, it's almost like the company pet.
Yeah.
What's that about? Do you think? What do you think? It's just something exciting for them to talk about, and
yeah, I think it's an exciting thing for people to talk about. Some people don't necessarily really know or care if the energy of a spirit, good or bad. They're just like, hey, this is unique.
Yeah,
this is something unknown. It's the appeal of the mystery,
right?
And so you have people that are like that. They say, oh yeah, we've got a ghost that haunts the company grounds, and it's just for them, it's like you said, a company pet. It's a cool thing. It's, oh hey, let me tell you about this, because it's something that can't be explained. It's something that's unknown, and they're just intrigued by it. And
they normalize it.
They normalize it to where it's like, yeah, this is just the way it is.
No big deal.
Yeah, some people normalize growths on their face too, though. I don't. It's fine. It's whatever. Yeah. I don't care. You know,
is it cancer?
Is it cancer? Who knows? It's whatever. I've just got this growth.
That's funny. Okay, and then going back to your family, you have another short little story if you're willing to tell. And this story, short and sweet, but it makes me think more about your family as a whole and how your parents seem more or less quite sensitive to spiritual things, spirits.
Yeah, I would say so, especially my mom. My mom definitely has seemed to have a really good ability to get a sense of why something has gone on, or especially in some of these encounters with spirits, because my family has a number of stories with things like this, and my mom seems to have often had a sense where she's received inspiration or revelation about some experiences that have happened, or especially when it comes to her kids, us. She seems to kind of know what's going on in our lives and what's bothering us when things are bothering us. And she's been able to be very helpful at helping us to do and feel better about life in general. But so anyway, so this story happened. I was early 20s. I was home from college. When I was first starting out in college. And so I was living with my parents in between semesters. And we have a 2-story house. My little sister's room, who at the time she was about 18 years old, I think. Her room was above mine. And so it's late at night, 10, 11 o'clock. I'm sitting in bed just playing on my phone, as you do. And my sister has a Jack and Jill bathroom that connects to my other sister's bedroom, but the other sister wasn't there. So I'm sitting in bed, and then I hear up above me footsteps go from my sister's bathroom door towards her bed. I hear it run across the ground, and I hear my sister scream. And I think it's just my dad or my brother. Someone had snuck through the Jack and Jill bathroom and then jumped out and scared her when she got in bed. And so I'm thinking, oh, that's hilarious. I start laughing. And so I go run upstairs and like, oh yeah, I heard that all the way downstairs. And as I go to my sister's door, I open it up and the lights are off and there's no one in there. I instantly just felt and knew that something wasn't right, because I open up the door and I'm looking at her, I'm like, where's whoever scared Becky? And so I walk over to Becky's bed and she's just frozen in fear. And she's got her blankets and she's curled up and she's just petrified. And if I remember, I think she was pointing towards her bathroom door. And I go over, I'm like, Becky, what's going on? And she's like, someone or something just ran at me from the bathroom door. And she was basically she just says that she was lying in bed. She couldn't move. She was awake. She couldn't move. And she saw this figure standing in her bathroom doorway and then just sprinted at her. And so I would normally say, oh, it was just a dream, sleep paralysis type of thing. You just had a nightmare, except for the fact that I heard the footsteps thump across the ground. And I know the layout of our house. I knew that it was from her bathroom door towards her bed. And I heard her scream. So I knew it wasn't just a dream for her. I knew it was real. So we woke up my parents and were talking. And then years later, my mom basically told us, she's like, I feel like it was something that was going on with someone in the house. And that's why that happened. She won't give us any details, but she just said that she felt like something was going on with someone in the house. And that's what kind of caused this experience. But then my dad blessed their home so that way, get rid of the evil spirits, and we haven't had anything since then. And so it was, and that I can't even think of anything prior to that either. It was just that one, whatever was going on in one of our lives was from what my mom really feels like was inviting an evil spirit to come in. And so whether that was we were doing something good and we were trying to be stopped, or doing something bad and being encouraged by something. We don't know.
It was in your sister's room, so
yeah,
let's blame her.
Yeah, it'll be Becky's fault.
Or maybe your mom reconnected with someone in Ohio as the same shadow figure in the intersection.
Yeah, came back for some revenge or something like that.
Did your sister say like it ran at her and it just disappeared, or?
Yeah, it just ran at her, and from what she says, it ran at her and disappeared. Whether she closed her eyes and then when she opened it, it was gone, or she saw it disappear.
Pulled the covers up.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but she said she was frozen. She couldn't move before it ran at her, and she saw it and just stared at it and then it sprinted at her, and then she screamed.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's time, if it's been a few years, even since you talked to your mom about it, follow up with her and be like, so what was it? What did you think?
I did talk to her about it a couple days ago, actually. And
really?
She won't say.
Interesting. I'm sure she has plenty of good stories that she could tell, but she may not be willing to. I don't know.
Yeah, I know my mom has a couple that she's told me, some when she was a kid, but she's been fine to share them with me. She may or may not share them in a more public setting, quote unquote. But yeah, I know, and I can talk to my family's got.
Your mom loves me. Come on.
Yeah, my mom loves you.
Your mom loves everyone.
That's true. She's sweet. She is a nice lady.
Well, shoot, Jared, these are great stories, and I thank you for coming on and talking about it. Last thing, going back to something you mentioned earlier, your mom singing some children's hymns, and I talked to someone else the other day about what they do whenever they get those spooky feelings, the unholy vibes. Have you had any other experiences where you're just like, I feel icky, I need to do something? I'll give you an example. And this one isn't even nearly as crazy. I went and saw a horror movie back in the day before I was really into horror and spooky stuff. I saw the movie Sinister, which is one of my favorites now of all time. But it was so shocking to me when I first saw it that I was like kind of shook. And I got home at like 11 o'clock at night and my house was empty when I got home. I went downstairs and I literally went and turned on like cartoons just to change up the vibe. And I was watching Adventure Time of all cartoons. I was like, yep, this is silly. It's bright and colorful. That'll kind of balance out the ickiness I feel, you know. Do you do anything like that or?
Yeah. When there have been times where I felt just that kind of little bit of dread or darkness, and whether it's anything's there or not, I don't really know. Because sometimes your mind just psychs you up into a little spooky frenzy, anyways. And generally, if I get into a situation like that, for me, it's if I feel like there's something evil, whether it's there or not, prayer for me. Yeah. I'll pray. I'll sometimes think of church hymns or I'll hum church hymns. But mostly for me, though, I don't have those experiences very often. I'm kind of logical in a lot of ways. And so sometimes it's just, it's just my own mind. So it's just like, push it aside. Like sometimes I think, I see a shadow figure at the end of my hallway, but I'm like, not really. I'm just, my eyes are playing tricks on me because I've got a long, dark hallway out of my bedroom door.
Yes, you do. Okay. Yeah. I figured that would probably that's a pretty common answer. You know, pray something, feel better. But yeah, it's just interesting to see different people's ways and how they cope because not everyone is religious or the same religion and they may have different methods. For example, I know people who are like, I don't like the vibe here. I'm going to sage this area. Yeah. And so they'll go and burn sage. Yeah. And that's their thing. Yeah. They don't pray. They don't sing songs. Like sage will do it. And then they feel comforted in that. Yeah. And so, I mean, if it works, right? Yeah. And then do you think that, because I've had this experience several times where you get together with a group of people and you're all telling your spooky stories, personal or not, do you think that makes you more prone to the spooky, icky vibes?
I would say yes and no. I think it depends on you, ultimately. If you are asking for spooky vibes because you want to have that type of influence in your life, then I think, you can really get that kind of icky, yucky vibe. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes too, on the flip side, if you don't want that type of a vibe in your life, those kind of spooky stories just make you uncomfortable because you're like, I don't feel right about this. But I think you can talk about stories like this in a setting like this, me and you, and I don't really feel icky or spooky right now, even relating the hair stood up on my neck a little bit. It's like, am I sitting here saying, ooh, gross, I got that feeling? Like, no, I don't. And I think it's because this is more of a discussion. It's casual, it's friendly, it's not with an intent to make ourselves, let's increase the spooky in our lives. It's just kind of
the lights are on, the sun's out,
this is what's happened, here's relating a story. And I think about it, like you take a look at, for me in the scriptures, they talk about evil spirits all the time, but you don't read that and then say, ooh, I feel gross. You say, actually, see, there's a purpose behind it sometimes. And so I think it depends on you, in my opinion. What's your intent behind having the spooky stories told to you? Are you doing it so you can feel gross? Then you're going to feel gross. If you're doing it to just learn, then you'll probably be fine.
Well, I think that was rhetorical, but I'm going to answer it as if it wasn't. But me behind this podcast, this show, it's a little bit of both. I think it's super interesting. I'm fascinated by spooky things because I believe that with a lot of scary things, spirits and ghosts and demons and all that especially, they really have no power to do anything. People are so used to the Hollywood depiction of a ghost in a scary sense that it's like, oh, it's going to kill you, tear your house down, and throw chairs and glasses across the room. And it's like, yeah, but that's a movie. That's a movie.
It's Hollywood.
Yeah. Most of the time, whenever I hear stories, I've heard a few that were like, oh, that's a little more intense, but they rarely ever reach those heights, you know? And so I look at the movies and the shows and things made professionally for entertainment and for shock and scare factor. And I think that's what that's for. That's exactly what that is. It's for entertainment. This is for entertainment, but also it's fun for me and fascinating for me to discuss around it and say, okay, well, what do you think? Because here's the thing. A skeptic could go look at that footage and say, well, it was just a glitch in the security camera.
Yeah.
Or you could explain it this, that, or the other. Oh, the audio lining up perfectly with that flash and saying those words, it was just a glitch. It was just some interference. It was this, that, or the other. Or some people might say, well, it was aliens, So it could go either way. So yeah, I do it for a little bit of everything. I like the entertainment factor of it. I don't have many experiences myself, so I like to hear other people's experiences. Scary experiences, I mean.
Yeah.
So I don't have many personal horror stories. And so I like to just fill the well with all these good ones. And I like telling stories. And so I've told your story. I've told other people's stories that are on the show because I just like telling them because I like to tell a good story. So anyway, we've got more stories to come. And if you ever happen upon any more that are or you've experienced anything, or if your mom wants to come and talk on the show and tell some scary stories, we'd be more than happy to have your mom on the show. Anything else that you can recall or you want to discuss around that, or you feel pretty satisfied?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. Yeah, those are the ones for me personally. Like I said, like my mom's got some, my dad has at least one that I know of. But rather than just secondhand knowledge, if they want to share it, they can share it.
Now, last question. Would you go back to that place, back to that workshop, and poke around, see if you could feel any spooky vibes?
Yeah, now that you've mentioned that, I should have done that. I was in Ohio about a year and a half ago, and I went and saw the house that I was living at the time. And I was there for a work trip, but one of my good friends and his wife lived in Columbus. And so I was showing them around where I used to hang out when I lived there. And I should have thought about that and tried to go find that place and just to see. But I mean, I would have nothing against going there and just seeing if I could feel if it was still there or not. I mean, the place might have even burned to the ground for all I know. Who cares? Like, who knows?
It was forever ago.
Who knows? It's forever ago. But yeah, I wouldn't have anything against going back there. Now, would I pay to go to Ohio just to find out? No, of course not. But if I happen to be there again and it's not too far of a drive, I'd consider it.
If the place is still standing and you can find out and get in contact with anyone out there, I'd almost be willing to travel there just for the heck of it.
Just to
because
see.
Here's the thing. You never know. You might reach out after getting the company name and they might still be there. That same guy might still be there. Who knows? And he might be like, oh, yeah, we have stuff. More stuff has happened all the time.
Yeah.
I'd be like, let's go. We're going.
Let's
go have a little look.
Out.
I'm not trying to become ghost hunters or anything.
You don't want to be,
but,
what is it, Josh Gates or whatever?
No. Maybe someday. Yeah, because I'd be willing to go like to haunted places. And I've said this before. I'd go to a haunted location before I'd try and make something haunted or scary happen at my own house.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know, I get that. Next time you're in Arizona, I think it's Tombstone, Arizona is known for having a lot of ghost stuff.
Well, Tombstone.
Yeah, Tombstone, Arizona. Yeah. I think my mom actually went and did a ghost tour there with my dad, one of their anniversary trips. So next time you're down, you might want to consider popping on over to Tombstone and doing one of those ghost tours or seeing what you can find.
I'm very there for that. Okay, well, Jared, thank you again for recording with me, coming on the show. Everyone, if you have any scary stories or if you have any questions that I just totally forgot to ask Jared and you want to know more, reach out to me at unholyvibespod on Instagram or email me at unholyvibespod@gmail.com. Yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, send them that way because I may be missing some really crucial questions. Someone's like, you didn't even ask him this thing. I'm sorry. In the moment, I'm forgetful. So anyway, if you or a loved one has any spooky stories you'd like to share and come on the show and share them with the people, hit me up there. Let me know. But yeah, stay spooky. Thanks for coming. Have a good one. Bye.